you may have. Just wanted to remind everyone of our different office hour mechanisms that we have. We have this office hours for the APAC time region, and it's on the second Wednesday of every month from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. And we also have a weekly office hour. So if you do have colleagues or other individuals who are in US or EMEA, we do have a weekly office hours from 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific time as well. So I just want to remind everyone of the mechanisms that we have for office hours. In the interim as well, we always have our GitHub discussions if you have questions that you want to cover there as well. There have been a couple of releases since we've been able to meet last that I want to cover. The first one is we actually had this released out yesterday of .NET 1.19.0. And so there's a lot of updates in terms of the new Azure AI inference connector, other pieces with Onyx as well. And so if you haven't had a chance to go ahead and go through this release update, I'll put in chat a couple of links that I'll share as well. So if you haven't had a chance to check this out yet, we recommend you take a minute to go through that. And then similarly in Python, we had an update last week for 1.8.3, and it was mainly around a Pydantic issue, but there are some other small changes that have occurred as well. And then the big one that happened that we've been releasing on a couple of our office hours and just want to remind everyone of, we recently had .NET 1.18.2, and that had a lot of updates around OpenAI, V2, some updates that were needed there for individuals to go and do with Assistance V2 as well, and a couple other updates. So if you haven't had a chance to go through these updates and the latest and greatest, I'd recommend you take some time to do that as well. A couple of other updates we are going through for other items to fill in for our documentation. You should be seeing updates to agent coming. We have a new blog post that I'll highlight as well that's out, but you will be seeing those updates as well. And so if you haven't had a chance to go through, I'd recommend you take a minute to look through. And then I know a lot of individuals have questions around our backlog and want to understand our roadmap. I'll put all these links in chat, but the backlog by bucket really allows you to be able to go and look at all the items that we're working on and understand what's currently in uh, development and what's on our roadmap of things to come as well. And so I'll put that in chat. And then the just last couple items, there have been a number of blog posts that we've been able to share out, and a couple of them have been guest blogs. And so there's been one that we actually have Arfa on that I actually will turn it over to him to chat about in a minute. And then we also had another guest blog as well with Vision Buddy and a feature for those who are visually impaired, being able to use .NET and Semantic Kernel. But before we dive in further, Arfa, is there anything you want to share about the guest blog that was shared out? We really want to encourage other members to just continue to give us feedback and have blogs of what you're working on and be able to share that as well. Is there anything that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies, number one, and good morning. I'm just on my school run, so if you hear any bad noise behind the scenes, please accept my apology. For the blog post, yeah. So this has been a tremendous, I would say, achievement from the Semantic Kernel team, or as an overall Onyx runtime community side, because we have been seeing that a lot of models were being run on the edge, but at the mercy of localhost. So I really wanted to try this out as how we can use file-based models rather than just using localhost models. And because of this Onyx connector, it has become possible. Um, I did have a lot of struggles, but at the end, we were able to work it out. The second, um, the second post which I wrote just published, I think day before yesterday, was around the kernel memory. But I'm keen to check out what has been released in 1.19. Maybe that solves a lot of my problems, and that will yeah. I just have to see it, but this is going to be interesting topic for many of us who are willing to take semantic kernel to the edge and work offline with models like 5.3 or 5.3.5, which will be coming soon. So yeah, just wanted to uh, talk about this. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much for diving in for all of your work. We really appreciate being able to have individuals in the community who are developing content but sharing out as well. So I know we have a couple other folks on as well who have done customer case studies or guest blogs, but if other individuals have items you're working on, we'd love to be able to discuss with you. And so feel free to send me an email, and I'd love to be able to get more community session content for our blogs as well. With that, I just want to also highlight that we have multi-agent support. And so we have a very detailed blog that for both .NET and Python covers all of the updates that we've had around multi-agent. And you'll be seeing, I know there's a question in our earlier office hours. We're going through right now the updates to our documentation. So you will be seeing that shortly, but wanted to make sure with getting that out that we had an announcement as well. So I just wanted to highlight that for folks here. But with that, I'm going to go and turn it over for open questions. I know that in the earlier office hours we had this morning, there were a couple of feature announcements that our engineering team came and did. So if you do have items that you're wanting to learn more of, we'll have the recording out shortly of just a couple of items. A lot of the individuals are based in EMEA, and so they're not able to join this session, but just wanted to make folks aware of what the recording. There may be some good information there, but I'd love to turn it over to questions the folks may have.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I have a question on chat history. We'd like to have a way to put more weighting on the most recent chat history. So, for example, the last conversation has more weight comparing to, say, a conversation 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
Do you have any suggestion on how to do that?
That's a really good question. Our engineer lead, Mark, has actually been diving into chat history, and we're actually hoping in the next couple of weeks in office hours to actually be able to have a presentation out from him of some update there. In the meantime, Danny, I'll go ahead and connect you and just let me know if there's anyone else from the Prezi team I should loop in for the scenarios. I know that this has been one that's come up, and to be able to have, we'd love to be able to, as we're going through with finalizing this as well, getting any testing and customer feedback early in. So I'll start an email thread with him in the interim.
All right, great. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Danny. I'm not seeing anything in chat. Other questions folks may have. Oh, great. I see a comment in chat from Luke around you're still learning, going through some of the semantic kernel applied skills. That's great to hear as you're going through content. Has there been any concepts or any things that you would want to learn more of or areas there?
For me, it's not so much semantic kernel, but I'm also learning C# at the same time. So
Got it. Got it.
it's yeah, it's a bit of a mixed world, but it's really good exercises to go through.
No, that's great to hear. If you do have any questions as we're going through, there's a fair number of samples we have out. We recently did a .NET Learn session as well, where Matthew had some code samples that he had gone through, and so that is another area that I can share that will be able to help you in that .NET space as you're getting up to speed. Perfect. I see a couple of folks typing, but while folks are typing, is there anything else that folks are building out that they are comfortable sharing in our public office hours of maybe there's something new that you're experimenting around with and love to kind of learn from others? Just curious if folks have anything that they'd be willing to share. Great. I see a good question in chat from Brian that he's also on the path of learning, but is looking for a comparison between LangChain and semantic kernel. and some of the scenarios are air gapped or edge driven. For some of those, would love to chat further. We've been actually working with some customers who've been able to use SLMs and some other areas as well to be able to help mitigate that. But in terms of LangChain versus semantic kernel, I would say the biggest comparison and the biggest difference between the two that we've really noticed is one, the structure of how it's put together, where semantic kernel is that kernel where you're able to have all of your different components all brought into one area versus in LangChain, a lot of the different items are chained together. And so what we really are seeing is that handoff between the AI teams who are primarily in Python and our developers who are either in Java or .NET. It gets very tricky as it doesn't call out the specific model of what's being used. And so that testing, once you get to that evaluation flow and being able to test and get that confidence interval, we're not seeing in LangChain that handoff being as good. Another comparison I would just say is that having all the items chained together, it's usually a lot more lengthy in code. And so if there are changes that are needing to be made, it takes a little bit more time than having a kernel where it's a lot simpler to just change the AI model with a simple line of code with that connector. Perfect. I'm just looking through chat to see if there are other questions. Yeah, great points, Luke and Arf. I really appreciate that. Any other questions? And feel free to come off of mute too. Happy to read them off of chat, but if folks want to come off of mute as well, feel free.
Yeah, sorry, I do have a question, but I'm mindful I'll have to drop after 1 minute, but I'll catch up the recording for the answer. The question is around building the plugins for ChatGPT. We have seen that there are some starter samples available on the repo, but if we go and find out and look out for the docs, I think I personally still struggle, having worked on semantic kernel for a while. And the reason why I'm giving this feedback is because we have got some junior developers on the team, and we had to develop one of the plugins. So then I figured out that there were some docs missing, or not missing, actually, like they were not there in a way that a junior, or I would say an experienced .NET developer, but not so experienced in this space, in AI space, may struggle. So that's why I just wanted to ask: is there anything on your roadmap to shape it up in a way that either make the startup project a better way to build this ChatGPT plugins or OpenAI plugins per se?
Yeah, that's a really good
but,
point.
Yeah. So on that line, yeah, I think you got my question. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I really appreciate the feedback, and especially as there are so many concepts to go and learn to really make sure that we're meeting everyone where they're at, from very senior developers to individuals who are more junior, who are just starting to learn how about AI. And so that is something that is on our roadmap to be able to go through and kind of do the next level within docs for some of the different areas that you're mentioning as well. I'll definitely reach out to you because I'd love to get even more detail, some of the feedback of what they'd be looking for. There are some areas that I know is on the team that we're looking to go and drive, but I'd love to capture your feedback. So I'll definitely reach out. I know we've been collaborating on those guest blogs to get some additional feedback, but it is something that we have in the works that you'll be seeing updates with. Graham, just looking through chat, I'm not seeing any other questions right now, but does anyone else want to come off of mute, or are there any other questions that folks may have? If there are no other questions, I'll stay on for a couple more minutes in case folks are typing or anyone wants to come off of mute. But if there aren't any other questions, we can end office hours a bit early. Want to thank everyone for your time. And if you do have any questions in the interim of our monthly APAC office hours, please use GitHub discussions. We go through and triage it daily, and we go through as the Semantic Kernel team and make sure to triage. It's really easy for us to then create issues from any of the items that are brought up, or be able to kind of close and open conversations there as well. And so don't feel like this is the only time you're able to interact or ask questions to the team as well. Especially to the folks who are just starting out. If there is any questions, you can also feel free to IM me. I'm happy to dive into any questions you may have as you're getting started as well. If it isn't something in terms of feedback or other things in GitHub discussions, feel free. Other than that, just want to thank everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.